Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and for this video I'm going to go through all of the found footage horror movies that I have in my collection. So I get asked about found footage movies a lot, and I've had quite a bit of interest in people wanting me to show the found footage movies that I have in my collection. So this is, I think, all of them. I may have missed a couple, but this is the crux of that collection. There's quite a lot of movies here, so I'm going to go through them as quick as I can. I'll show each one and I'll just sort of give you a yes, you should watch it, no, don't bother, that kind of thing. And as always guys, feel free to let me know what you think of the movies in this video. Okay, so the first found footage movie that I have is Afflicted. And this was a really good one. This is two friends, they're travelling around, might be in Europe, I can't remember. They're travelling around and one gets afflicted with this virus and it starts to change him and mutate him and he becomes more and more violent, that kind of thing. Really good stuff, really intense, but a very good movie, one that you don't hear about all that often, so I definitely recommend Afflicted. Okay, next up is Apollo 18. So this is like found footage of a moon landing or something like that which goes wrong and there's all creepy stuff going on. It's okay, it's pretty standard, but I thought it was decent enough. But there's much better found footage ones out there in my opinion, but still worth a watch. Especially if you like sort of space and science fiction and that kind of thing. Okay, next up is As Above, So Below. This one was really good. I was impressed with this one. A group of people go down exploring into the Parisian catacombs and they get lost and disorientated, and then weird creepy things start to happen and it all gets really scary. Yeah, this one was a good one, but not one to watch if you're claustrophobic or don't like sort of disorientation and things like that. But I enjoyed that one. Okay, next up is Atrocious. This is a Spanish film. This family move into this house and I think it's haunted, it's got a curse, something like that. This one's very standard. I had a good enough time watching it, but there was no kind of like OMG moments or anything that really sticks out in the memory. So kind of middle of the road on that one. Okay, next up we have Atrocious. So this is very extreme horror, said to be the most extreme movie ever made from Mexico, and I'd agree with that. It's about these serial killers. They are apprehended by the police, and the police find their videotapes of the horrific stuff that they've been getting up to. So a lot of people being tortured and tied up and things like that. Yes, not a nice film, this one, isn't it? It's quite messed up and for extreme horror fans only. I thought it was okay. It is what it is. Movies like this are difficult to recommend, really. Okay, next up is The Bay. This one was pretty decent. This is about a viral outbreak during like a weekend holiday celebration, and I think it starts to affect nature and animals start attacking people and things like that. Not a bad one. Again, not one that really stands in my mind as having any like in-your-face moments, but I thought it was pretty good. Okay, next one is Bigfoot, The Lost Coast Tapes. So these people go into the woods looking to document evidence of Bigfoot. I like this one. This one gets a lot of hate because it changes it slightly. There's a bit of a twist to what's actually happening, which I won't get into because it gives it away. I really liked it, but a lot of people don't. The movie itself is quite slow, but again, when you know what happens at the end, it kind of makes sense. So one that I see a lot of people not liking, but I personally did appreciate what they did with this film. Okay, next up is the Blair Witch Project, arguably one of the most famous and popular found footage movies. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do like it. I really like the Blair Witch. I think it's still really creepy to this day. And I have a lot of respect for Blair Witch. I really respect what they did with what they had. And in terms of marketing campaigns and things like that, it's absolutely genius how they put this movie out and how they marketed it. So props to the creators for sort of that spark of originality when it came to releasing this film. And I've just recently watched a couple of documentaries about Blair Witch, which purport to be real but aren't, but kind of just add to the whole mysticism around that Blair Witch legend. Really interesting stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend the original Blair Witch. And then we had Blair Witch, the more modern found footage version. This one's okay. A group of people just, they go back to the Blair Witch woods, and of course creepy things start to happen again. I like this. It kind of delivered in a found footage aspect, but it did seem like a bit of a cash-in. There wasn't really much point to doing this, and it was kind of standard. But like I say, it did follow some pretty cool found footage traditions. Okay, next up we have the notorious Cannibal Holocaust, the extreme cannibal horror movie. So a group of researchers or whatever they are, they go to the Amazon jungle to see if cannibalism exists, and they find out that it does in the worst possible way, and then people recover their film reels and reveal the horrors of what went on. I'm sure you all know about this movie. It's I like the movie. I really again, I respect what they did. I think there's a good movie to be found in here. And as far as I'm aware, this was the first movie to ever utilise the found footage aspect. I know Blair Witch kind of a lot of people consider Blair Witch to be to hold that mantle, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, Cannibal Holocaust was the first movie to show found footage. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I'd love to check out a movie that came earlier than this. But yeah, great movie. If you like your cannibal stuff, I'm sure you've seen this anyway. But yeah. Okay, next up is Chernobyl Divers. This is another one that I really enjoyed. So a group of like tourists or sightseers or whatever, they sneak into the Chernobyl area, which is like an area that's been affected by radiation, something like that. And yeah, they're just hanging around and messing around, and they find out that there's still like creatures and people in there that have been affected by the radiation, and it's like caused them to be all like violent and zombie-like and stuff like that. I only watched it the once, but I remember really enjoying this one. I thought it was good. Okay, next up is Cloverfield. I've watched this a couple of times. One time I really enjoyed it. The second time I didn't care for it all that much. So it's got some decent moments in it. It's a pretty clever film as well. I think the second time I watched it, I was a bit I got a bit hung up on the party scenes and all the talking and the drama. That kind of annoyed me a bit more than what it did the first time. But really cool monster in this one. Very, I know it's found footage, but I think this one is very, very shaky cam. So there was an element that made me feel a bit queasy. But yeah, not a bad movie. I much prefer 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is not a found footage movie, but that I thought was a much better film. Next up is Creature Lake. So a group of guys, they go for a weekend in the woods, camping and drinking beer and whatnot, and then they sort of incite this creature from the lake. I enjoyed this one. It's a Wild Eye release, so you never know what they're going to be like. I know a lot of people don't like this, but for some reason it worked for me. I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, next up we have The Devil Inside. If I remember right, this is found footage, or it at least has elements of found footage. This woman, she confesses to the police that she killed a bunch of people, but it turns out she was like possessed by demons, and then her daughter goes to investigate further and tries to find out what happens, and I think there's an exorcism involved. I'm not sure if all of it's found footage, but it definitely has found footage elements, like of the daughter meeting the mum in this like asylum or something like that. It was a cool film, I know that. I know I enjoyed this one, although again it gets quite a bit of hate. Right, next one is Devil's Due. Again, I don't really remember the specifics, but I remember enjoying this one. This couple, they're expecting a baby, and there's some kind of demonic curse or presence that is involved with it. So creepy supernatural stuff starts to happen. It's, yeah, one that I do remember enjoying. Okay, next up is Diary of the Dead. This one I did not enjoy. I didn't like this at all. I didn't like George Romero dabbling in found footage, to be honest. I think he's, no disrespect to found footage, I think George Romero is better than that, and he has more substance than found footage, and I just didn't care for this movie all that much, really. I thought it was a real step down in quality in the Dead franchise, unfortunately. Okay, next up is District 9. Now, the first time I watched this film, I really didn't enjoy it, and then I found this steelbook really cheap, so I picked it up, watched it again, and then really liked it. Really good story of these aliens. They come down to Earth and they start to build a society, although it's like horrible shantytown like, and there's a real divide between humans and aliens, and they have like quite a sort of racist, if you will, look towards each other. And then this one guy that's investigating or working for the government, he gets bitten or something, which slowly starts to change him more to an alien, and it's pretty good, pretty intense in places, but yeah, rather sort of good story and quite relevant in a way. So yeah, I've come to like District 9 a lot more upon a second viewing. Next up is Exists. This is a group of people going to the woods and they are terrorised by Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot films anyway, and I thought this was a really good film. Definitely worth checking out. It's weird because it's like they try and make it scary like a supernatural found footage film, but it's Bigfoot. So an interesting mix of scares and like creature features. Okay, next up is Fear Footage. This one's pretty good. It's very kind of sort of low budget indie attempt at found footage. Policeman, I think he gets killed, and then they find his body cam, and he's investigating like this creepy haunted house or something where weird things are happening. I thought this one was good. It was a pretty decent effort for what I think is a rather low budget production. So one that's worth checking out if you can find that one. Okay, next up is Followers. This one was pretty good. It's about this couple. They kind of tapped into social media, so they have like a YouTube channel or a blog or something, and they're going away, they're going on some camping trip and documenting it all, but they are followed and stalked by these people. I can't remember what's going on. There's more to the story than what you realise at first, but it was a pretty cool film. I enjoyed this one. Okay, next up is The Fourth Kind, which I thought was a really underrated film. This got terrible reviews when it came out. It's not entirely found footage. There is some, it's like an actual movie about alien abduction. It's reporting on these alien abduction cases, and then it kind of utilises found footage and like clips from therapy sessions with the victims to sort of reinforce the facts that it's purporting in the actual movie side of things. It's really clever how they do it. I thought this was really good, and yeah, not one that's talked about that much, and one that doesn't get all that good reviews, but definitely a good film and a very underrated film in my opinion. So that is that one. Next up we have Frankenstein's Army. I think this is found footage. I remember it being found footage, so unless I'm remembering it completely wrong. This is set in like World War II or something, and these soldiers go like down to this underground bunker, a bit like an Overlord kind of setup, and there's all these weird creatures that have been created for like the Third Reich or something like that. This one gets pretty good reviews, but I didn't get on with it all that much myself. I just didn't care for it that much. It's got some cool looking creatures, but yeah, I wasn't too fussed about this one. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, next up is the Gallows. So this is one that gets quite a bit of criticism, but I enjoyed this one. I like the setting of this one. These high schoolers break into this school. I can't remember if it's abandoned or run down, or if it's just like in summer when it's shut. But they break in and start messing around and whatever, but there's these ghostly spirits that start to haunt them and drive them insane, and that kind of thing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool, and yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent found footage film, but it does get a bit of hate, unfortunately. Right, next up is Grave Encounters. This one was pretty cool. It's a bit slow, but I like the premise of this one. This TV production crew, they go around investigating haunted places, but it's all bogus. They know it's bogus, and they do things to make it look like it's haunted when it's not. And they go to some big abandoned building, but find out that it is actually haunted by these evil spirits. So yeah, pretty cool premise there. Like I say, it is a bit slow, but it has some cool looking demon things towards the end, which are really creepy. Okay, next up is Hangman. This is a really creepy movie. This is about this guy, this total weirdo. He sneaks into this family home, and then he sets up these hidden cameras in all the rooms, and then he goes and hides in the attic and just lives up there for ages. And he's watching the family. They don't know he's up there, and he starts to like mess with them, move things around, sort of manipulate them a little bit, and it all starts to get more and more dark and violent until the horrifying ending. But yeah, this is a really good one, but they are very uncomfortable viewing. This one definitely gets under your skin. The idea behind this one is pretty terrifying. Okay, next up is Hate Crime. This one's kind of just a really nasty film, just sort of nasty for the sake of being so. This is about this Jewish family. It's like a birthday or something, and the house is broken into by these three masked guys who just proceed to like torture them and humiliate them and murder them. So yeah, really kind of just very violent, very racist, incredibly racist film towards Jewish people and things like that. Not one that I recommend, because like I say, it is just one that it just seems to be nasty without any kind of real substance. So yeah, this was just one that I watched, and yeah, once it was done I thought, right, fair enough. So yeah, not one that I'd recommend. Okay, next up is the houses that October built. So this is about a group of people. They go round, they're into those like scare attractions and things like that, and they go around filming it, and then they come across one where actually the people in it do want to kill you for real. They're trying to find more and more extreme scares, and they kind of get a bit, they get it more than what they bargained for. This one, though, I have to say I was kind of disappointed with. I thought it was a real missed opportunity, and I thought that premise of trying to find more and more extreme scares until you are kind of too extreme, I thought that was really good. But the actual film itself was a little bit underwhelming in my opinion. So yeah, unfortunate. Okay, next up is The Last Exorcism. This is one that I remember enjoying. I think it's like a priest, but he's a bit of a phony. He kind of cashes in on people's grief and stuff, and he goes to do like one last exorcism on camera, but it turns out it's like a full-on real demonic possession, so he finds himself having to deal with some real life stuff for a change. I think that's what the premise is. I did really like it. I thought this was a good film, and the ending really creeped me out. There is a Last Exorcism Part 2, which is really good, but if I remember correctly, that one isn't found footage. But both of them are pretty good. Okay, next up is the last horror movie. This one I cannot recommend enough. This was an absolutely fantastic film. I don't want to talk about it too much because what it does, in my opinion, is so original and really turns the horror genre on its head and really changes it up. It's a really clever film. It starts out very standard and then just goes to a place where you just do not expect at all. And the main guy in it that's doing the documenting and the filming, he is so good. Very, very convincing. It does have some quite brutal scenes in it, some quite intense kills and some uncomfortable moments, but it really delivers. And yeah, it's a film that I think is very, very underrated. It doesn't get all that much credit, which it should. So I highly recommend the last horror movie. It's a seriously good found footage movie. Okay, next up is Monster. This movie is terrible. This is just a really weak cash-in on Cloverfield. It's very boring. I really didn't like it. I don't recommend this one at all. And this awesome cover has nothing to do with the movie. So don't get suckered in by that. Okay, next up we have Paranormal Activity. I love this movie. When it first came out, I was skeptical that I would enjoy it. I absolutely loved it. I really like what they do, and I find this movie and the rest of the franchise really, really creepy. I have all the other movies as well. I didn't think it was necessary to get each one out. But love the first one, and I'm a fan of the entire franchise. I think they are really cool movies. And then next up we have Paranormal Entity, so kind of a cash-in on Paranormal Activity. Similar kind of stuff, if I remember right. This family, they start to come under attack from a demonic presence. And it was pretty good stuff. Kind of very derivative, but I enjoyed it. Now, next up is Poltergeist Activity. I didn't like this one. This was really dull. I struggled to get through it, so not one that I would recommend. Okay, next one is The Possession of Michael King. This is another really underrated movie. It's really, really good. This guy, his wife dies, and he starts looking for answers and meaning, I guess, and he begins to investigate the dark arts and things like that, black magic and things like that, and it all starts to affect his life really badly, and it starts to work its way into his life, and creepy things start to happen. It's a really good film. I've not done it justice there, but I definitely recommend The Possession of Michael King. Okay, next we have Quarantine, the American remake of Wreck, I believe. This was a pretty good film, and yeah, I liked it. Pretty intense, but one that I would recommend. Then we have Quarantine 2. Not as good as the first Quarantine, but it was still pretty good. It's got some intense moments in it. Okay, and then we have the Wreck collection. So Wreck 1, 2, 3 and 4. Wreck 1 and 2 are absolutely amazing. Two of the most intensely scary movies that I've ever seen. Wreck 3 I thought was awful. Wreck 3 tends to go down the more comedic route, and I hated it. Wreck 4 goes back to more serious territory, but I didn't care for it all that much. But Wreck 1 and 2 I highly recommend. They are fiercely good found footage horror movies. Right, next up is Real Evil. This one was okay, pretty standard stuff, but I enjoyed it. Most interesting thing about this is it's released by Full Moon, who I don't really associate with found footage, but yeah, decent enough film. Next up is The Sacrament, which is an excellent film. I highly recommend this one. A group of people, they are invited to this place which turned out to be a cult. It's loosely based on the Jonestown massacre, so if you know what happens there, you can imagine what goes on here. But really, really good film. Definitely one that I would recommend. Okay, next up is a Norwegian film called Troll Hunter. This movie is excellent. I really recommend Troll Hunter. It's such a fun film. Kind of played seriously, but still just such an enjoyable film to watch. And it's literally a bunch of people. They follow this miserable, grizzled old troll hunter. He hunts giant trolls. But it's fantastic. It's such a good film. So definitely recommend that one. And then we have VHS, which I absolutely love. It's an anthology of found footage segments. So I love anthologies, I love found footage, so this is a great combination for me. And this is one of my favourite movies. It's one of my go-to found footage movies to watch. So I highly recommend VHS. And then we have VHS 2. Same sentiments as VHS 1 really. This one's just as good. Arguably might be even better. The segments in it are absolutely fantastic. Not a weak one in it, and very scary as well. So yeah, definitely recommend VHS 1 and 2. And then we have the third one, Vhs Viral. This one gets a lot of hate, but I thought it was good. It's not as good as 1 and 2, I will admit that, but it's definitely got some cool segments. The skateboarding kids fighting the zombie skeletons was really cool. So yeah, not one that a lot of people seem to like, but I enjoyed it. And then the last one we have is the Zombie Diaries, which was another one I thought was really good. This one's filmed in Britain, and it's in the wake of like a really violent zombie epidemic. And yeah, I thought this one was really effective and really scary in places. So yeah, one that I really enjoyed and could recommend. So that is, I think, all the found footage films that I own. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Hope you got some good recommendations. As always, let me know what you thought of the films in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.